So good. So this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do the morning. We're going to try some team-based learning. We're going to do an IRAT and a TRAT based on the readings for today, okay? So you're going to do that first, and then I'm going to give a mini lecture, which will be helpful, I think, especially on the webinar, just to go over the process of team-based learning, just for a review, and so then we can also figure out what we've done so far and what we still need to do so that you feel prepared. Then we're going to do a team activity. And we'll do 2 team activities if we have the time, but we'll definitely do one of them to give you a sense of the kind of activities that you're going to want to do with your classes. Then we'll have lunch, and then in the afternoon we'll talk about the RATs, because the readiness assurance tests are one of the most important parts of TBL. And so I'm going to talk to you about good multiple choice items, because that's a good multiple choice item will save you a lot of trouble in the end. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll just talk about RATs in general, how many you should be doing, how often, that kind of thing. So if we have time today, depending on how fast everything goes, we'll also talk about peer evaluations, because that's a big thing. And that'll be it for today, and that'll be a huge amount if we can get through all of that. Now, I've given you packets, and the packets have all sorts of things in them. I've given you enough IFAC forms to get you through next semester. And I've given you 3 different versions of them. We'll talk about those more later. But I've given you different versions of them, and you'll see down at the bottom in the bottom right-hand corner there says form, and then there's a number. And that's the key. So I've given you the answer keys, and so you're gonna, if you use them, you'll key your RATs to those. But I'll show you how to do that later. I've also given you some peer evaluation forms so you can see what they look like. And I've put a whole bunch of files on that CD. Yeah. So if you don't want to start from scratch, you could just use my templates and...
So nice.
Yeah. I know. Why reinvent the wheel, right? Just use somebody else's form. I've also given you a list of references. You know, I've been sending you all of these chapters, but I never have time to actually put the reference down. And so they're all on that list, plus some others. So if you want to read more about TBL, that's a good place. Okay.
Marilyn.
Hi. Yay.
Yay.
Sitting perfect. Why don't you sit over there? Perfect timing.
Yes, thank you.
All right, this is for you. Okay, any questions before we start? All right, so we're going to start with the RATs. Okay, so this is what I do. I've prepared a folder for you, and this is what I do with my teams. I prepare a folder, one of these pocket folders, and I have something on the front that has the team name. I call you the LATTC Innovators, because that's what you are, and then all the names of the team members. And then down here I just have little boxes where they put their team RAT scores, and so that's how they keep track of them. And what I do for each class is I put all the stuff that the team is going to need in their folder. As soon as they come to class, somebody from the team will come and get the folder, and they'll know everything they need pretty much is in there. So in this folder here, I have some RATs, and so why don't you pass those around. And then I have, the way I do this, because my classes have been relatively small, I have write-in answer sheets for the individual RATs. And you know, all of this is actually, all of these files are on your CD, so if you decide to use them, you're very welcome to do them. And so what I'll do, everybody gets their individual form, everybody gets their RAT, and when everybody's ready, then I say go, and they start answering the questions. Now you'll note that this RAT has 8 questions on it. It's relatively short. They're usually 10 to 15 questions, and so I just use these, I have them use these individual sheets until they get to 50 questions. I usually have them, when they're finished with their rat, they fold them and hold them up, and somebody comes and gets them. I put their names on the outside, so I can just stick them back in the folder, and they don't look at each other's. They all know what everybody gets because they'll talk about it in the team. But it gives them a little privacy. So why don't you get started on the rat and take a few minutes to work on your individual rat there. And if you don't know the answer, just guess. It's okay. When you're finished, just put your name on the form, fold it up, hold it up, and Barbara will come get it. And make sure you've made a note of your answers on the questions, because you're gonna,
Oh, okay.
yeah, when you take the team test, it'll be helpful. You can actually write on, Marilyn, if you just want to write on that form, you can just do that, write on that.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. No.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's not here.
Oh.
Answers that.
But you want this one back?
No, that's
Oh,
you're
I'm
gonna
sorry.
you're gonna hold on to that.
Oh, all right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
See how different learners learn?
That's right.
In the classroom, would you have them hold on to the test?
Yes, because they're gonna, when they take the team test, they're gonna need the test.
They're gonna need to see what their answers were?
Well, they're gonna talk about, they're gonna talk about the questions, as you'll see. What I have them do though is I don't let them keep them, so I have them, when they're finished with the team test, they put them in the folder and then I remove them from the folder. Because I don't want the questions sort of floating around, you know, from semester to semester, so.
Or from class to class?
Or from class to class, right.
And also, it's another option for what we just did with the paper we just held up, could we do it on Scantron?
You can, yes, you can do it on Scantron. There are people who bring portable Scantrons and then just run them through. See, I've always been lucky because I have TAs. I find people who will TA for me, and they'll sit in class and they'll grade them, because the useful thing about that is that you know immediately if there are items where students have trouble. Because they'll often, when they're in their teams, they'll figure out the answers, but it's good for you to know if individual students had problems with some of the items, and so that's why I like to do it, but you don't have to. I mean, the first few times I did it, no, you're going to keep that. You're going to keep that.
And get your name on it.
Oh, I couldn't have
On the outside too.
No, it's okay. You put it on the inside and the outside, so, but you only need to put it on the inside right now. Okay, all right, so everybody's finished. So one of the things that you'll need to think about is how long you want to give students time to do the individual rats. Some people set a limit. They'll say, okay, you get 5 minutes past the first test that's handed in. So that does put a limit, but if you have some students who are really fast test takers, that will make some people feel rushed. And so I think it depends on your discipline. You're just going to have to weigh it. You don't want them to spend hours doing this. I mean, you really want to get this done within a half hour to 40 minutes. Even that long, depending on how many questions you have, you know, and depending on how difficult they are, because you don't want to rush the teams in a way. You want the teams to really be able to talk about and think about the items. But again, you know, it depends. And you'll feel your way through that. Okay, so when everybody's handed in their individual sheets, then they take out their, in my class, we use the IFAT form, so they take them out. Who wants to be the person who scratches off the answers?
Oh.
It's very exciting. Okay, Angela's going to do it. All right, do you have a coin? I hope somebody has a coin. Now, of course, the first time you do this, you're going to have to give them instruction on how to do this. But once they've done it, they'll know how to do it. So it only is that first time it gets a little.
So a group
kind of
learner.
So the teams need to sit together, and you want them to always sit together. You actually, I think you're fine right here. Yeah, you're fine right here. So you want the teams to always sit together, and so that they can talk. You know, they won't have to. They won't be bothered by other teams. And so what I say is that, okay, for each of the questions, you need to come to consensus about an answer. And when you come to consensus, then somebody scratches off the answer. If the answer is correct, you'll see a star. And that will tell you it's correct. That's worth 3 points. Now, not everybody does this, but a lot of people in TBL do. For the team tests, if they get it wrong, I let them take another turn. And I let them do it until they find the correct answer. So if they get it right the first time, they get 3 points. If they get it right the second time, they get 2 points. And if it takes them 3 tries, they only get 1 point. But some people, you know, say it's one time only. So that's up to you too. Okay, so why don't you start? You discuss the answers and come to consensus and scratch off. We'll see how you did.
Okay, I'll read the question. According to the group process literature, which of the following will result in the most functional TBL teams?
I came up with D.
D?
I put D.
I put D as
But I
well.
haven't read these things.
That's okay, that's,
I did.
No, I haven't read.
I said
it.
D as well.
okay.
So,
Are we all?
All right, so scratch off D and hopefully it's there, hopefully I keyed this right. That's always my worry, is that I didn't key it quick. Is there a star? Yay!
We got it right.
Am I right now?
So
Oh,
close
so
to
you
it.
did, yes.
Are you
Okay.
giving us 2 and 1 if we
You know, I
do?
have okay, so
Go
the
ahead.
gold one.
Yes, now, so here's something, so I'll just interrupt now. There are a number of different forms, and so this happens to be a gold one. You know, I just borrowed it, I took that from my department. I've given you a whole bunch of them. You have to look at that form number at the bottom of them, because that's what tells you the key. And you all have, I gave you all the keys, so make sure you match your answer key to the key that I've given you.
And so all the students should have the same order of the IRAC?
Yes, they have to, and that is, yeah, that's true. If you randomize the order,
Right.
you can't do that.
Yeah, for the
You
multiple.
absolutely
For the most
can't
part,
do
they
that.
don't talk loud, and so they don't.
Well, you know, when the
And
teams are
of course-
talking to each other, they don't pay attention to anybody else.
And I give bonus to, when I do this, but I haven't done it with the rec, but when I do it, I say the team with the highest score, if consistently, gets a bonus point. And so they're huddled up together and they're going,
Yeah, they
they're-
don't want other people to hear them. Okay, keep going. So you got one
oh,
right.
number 2, a characteristic of newly formed teams is that, where did anybody put?
I put D.
I put
wasn't
D,
really
but
not
I
sure,
would
but
You know-
debating between A and D.
I put A. What did you
I
put?
put D, but I was.
I put B.
What if you read them all?
Okay, here, a characteristic of newly formed teams is that A, members are likely to withhold information that would lead to constructive conflict. B, social loafing is rarely a problem in the classroom. That's not true.
Yeah.
Independent type tasks tend to enhance team cohesion.
No.
Nope. Trust is often built very quickly and may be evident after a few hours of working together.
I'm gonna say A.
I didn't see trust.
Members are
Not right away.
Right, that's just,
Yeah.
I didn't do the reading, that's just based on.
And
What did you
then
say?
one of the key characteristics of the question is it says newly formed.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I guess A because, until in the beginning, newly formed, you know, and reluctant.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I read B, the opposite.
Oh, that is the.
I was thinking it often happens, is a problem. So, I would say A.
So A?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
And you were torn between A
I would
and
say
D?
A too.
I put A, but D would have been the other option. But I did
Oh,
put
the
A.
trust is built very quickly?
But I don't think it's D.
I was between A and D too, but like,
Yeah, A and D seem like those
Right.
are the correct
Right.
answers. We just have to figure out which one is the
We just have
best
to go for it.
characteristic.
I'm gonna say A.
We just have to go
How
for it
many
at
people
this
vote for
point.
Come
A?
on, come on, Rachel.
Come on,
Are we
Marilyn.
going for A?
Let's go for A.
Okay, decisive.
You got it?
A.
Yeah.
Yay!
I
Okay.
read B wrong.
Don't be afraid to be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
3, which of the following types of tasks is more likely to enhance cohesion in a newly formed team? Easy joint intellectual task, easy independent intellectual task, difficult independent intellectual task, or joint intellectual task of medium difficulty? That was a hard question. For
Definitely
me.
not B or C.
No, I put D.
I put D as well.
Yeah, I put A.
You put A, why did you put A?
I don't know.
I mean, I can see A because when you wanna do cohesion, you wanna make it doable. So
Yeah.
that you can bond first.
Non-threatening.
But I find
Discussion.
students
Yeah,
in
exactly.
class
Because like
like
for
a
us, on the
challenge.
first question, we all put the same thing, we didn't talk.
So A or
and we
D?
went.
I don't know, that's why I put
Sometimes easy students don't respect that, maybe.
What do you-
So a little challenge is great and
I
you
just
kind
think
of,
they
you got through
So
it
it'd be A or
together.
D.
So I was
Yes.
thinking D, but that's
I
more.
put D.
So D?
And
I think A.
You think A?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe D, if it's medium difficulty, then you're more prone to talking things out with.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
That one.
If it's too easy,
If it's
then you
too
don't have a lot of
easy,
dialogue.
That's what
And
I.
part of the team-based
Right,
learning
yeah,
is the
the
dialogue.
Dialogue.
Right.
Yeah, so I put D.
So
So we give it
So I would go with D
I
too.
like
Okay.
overcoming.
Okay,
Okay.
D.
Everybody D? All right.
No, I still have A.
I know.
Oh, you still have A?
Because I'm looking at this question, as which of the following types of tasks is most likely to
Yeah.
enhance
Yeah.
Oh,
cohesion in a
I
newly
think
formed
it's a
team?
positive psychology option for A. You know how
You
you
just
have to
want
have
them to
multiple
feel good.
successes?
Yeah,
Have
I
multiple
mean,
successes
but
before
I'm
you
just-
have failures?
Right.
That's what A makes
I
me
don't
feel.
remember what I read.
Me too,
That's the
but
problem.
but
Maybe
that's
someone
independent
needs to read.
It's a
success.
tricky question. I can't remember that, and I was trying to think, that's where I was going with
All right,
that.
let's just do a consensus
Yeah.
and we'll
Okay.
go with it.
Red.
I'm gonna vote for D.
D? Okay.
D.
Okay, D?
D?
I like
Okay,
the
let's see.
successes
Uh-oh.
mentality.
Yeah.
I like that too.
But that's success
D.
individually.
Oh,
What
okay.
was it?
D.
Good.
Wow, okay.
Good.
I just thought the overcoming aspect.
But they're not overcoming anything in the D.
Yeah, if it's medium. Oh, right. Medium.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's why I did
Exactly.
say that.
That's why I
We have to
put the
overcome
D.
something.
And it gives them individual success, not
Okay.
group success.
Group
It's a little bit.
Exactly. In TBL, summative feedback is useful to enhance group processes, reduce social loafing, provide team members with information about their contribution, establish mutual accountability. In TBL, summative feedback is useful to,
Can someone, does someone have a good definition of summative feedback?
So the feedback at
Yes,
the very
right.
end,
Right.
end of the
Versus
session
formative, which is
versus formative throughout, right?
Okay.
I put C.
I was torn between C and D because I remember in the reading, it was very teacher-based in terms of how you can contribute. So the instructor portion, in providing something, provide the team members with information about the
Right.
I would
contribution.
say C too.
So,
If it's at the very end, it doesn't make
Mhm.
sense that it would be establishing mutual accountability.
Yeah,
And
no.
we're done.
right? Well,
Well,
you know, I put D, but I think I'm wrong.
no, it could
I
be
think
actually, because if
I
you,
put D, but then, yeah, I would be.
well, yeah, because at the very end, if you find out that if the, and of course I haven't read it, but
But you know a lot about
like me.
summative
she is a
feedback,
newcomer.
I'm a newcomer, so.
Yes, we have to give her
But I
No
can see C.
excuses, Dr. Randall.
Summative
Psychology,
feedback is
psychology
useful
love.
to provide team members with it. Yeah,
I'm
oh boy.
thinking C.
Are we ready for a vote?
But you know what, I think it could be C or D,
I
but
know.
for TBL, it's, you know,
It looks like we're looking at team members.
so for TBL, what is it useful for?
How would it be D if, an example of D if it's not TBL or just like from your experience?
Well, the D, the mutual.
Establish
Word.
mutual,
And-
summative feedback is useful to establish mutual accountability. That's kind of
Okay.
hard. I wasn't sure about that answer. I put D, and I think I put D because when you're looking at the feedback, but how does that, yeah, that's
I
a
would
tough
see
one.
D be
I
more
think I
important
might
if
be
it's like a
wrong.
formative feedback, right?
Yeah.
Like midway through.
Mhm.
Now, is the summative feedback after the groups have, after, these are student groups, right? Oh, are you supposed to say anything? Okay. So,
No, and that's actually a good point, because students will call me over and say, well, do you mean this? And you have to be very careful about what you say during the RAT. I try not to say a thing. I try to let them wrestle with it. And you know what, and the reality is you have to move on, right? Because there's a time limit.
Yes.
So at some point, you're gonna have to make some commitment. And if it doesn't turn out right, you have another chance.
Okay.
So, look at it that way.
well, okay, so for the summative feedback, I guess I
Go
can
ahead.
ask you.
That's right.
If the groups are, you're giving the questionnaire out and the groups are working together. And after the groups work together and fill everything out, and then the RATs are corrected, or you go through and correct them, that gives you that immediate feedback at the very end. So if you're getting that at the end, I'm just thinking about how it establishes, well, it will establish mutual accountability in some way,
Well,
but not
because-
all of the way. I mean, because how do we know that everyone has contributed?
Well, that's the thing, maybe you're establishing just how much each person has not.
That's what
It doesn't suggest it has to be positive, but you're establishing at that point just who contributed and just who didn't. And so that's why I was torn between the two, providing team members with information about their contributions.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sort of similar to establishing sort of suggesting once again that this is a mutual contribution. So they go so hand in hand
They do.
that I almost went to A. I'm just letting you know what my brain was. So I was like, they're so close
Yeah,
that
it is close.
I started thinking, you know, at the end, maybe the feedback is really enhancing
Yes.
the group process. It's really enhancing just how you get how we're working together as a group. That's how my brain was working.
Well,
And I was trying to
that's-
remember because I
that's
actually did sort of outline the chapters.
Yeah.
And these are the two things I thought I had
Yeah.
nailed down, and now
Yeah.
they're tricking me. You know, I see what students go through.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
All
You
right.
guys want to vote on C?
Yeah, because
Let's
I'm
take a
thinking,
vote.
you know, we want to
Take a
spend
vote.
another 5 minutes
Yeah.
on this, so you need to move along.
Okay.
Well, let's go. What do
Thanks.
you
We'll
want?
go,
Yours.
how many people say C by a raise of hands? Hesitancy.
I'm hesitant.
Yeah,
okay, let's
I
say
guess
this.
it's
We can't always
I
be
think
right.
it's D.
I still think it's just the A. No. So it's
Let's see D.
need a star.
Okay, we're gonna lose some points on that, but we
We wanna
got.
go to D now?
Yeah,
Or
let's
wanna
try
A?
D.
Let's try B. I think it is B.
No.
And that's the little star.
So let's put A.
So I think it has to be A then, right?
Wow, it's got to be
You
A.
know what, when you said that, because when in
Uh-oh.
constructing good multiple choice
Is it
tests.
A? Okay.
Yeah, we're totally off, guys.
Yeah,
It's B?
yeah,
Do
because
social
it
loafing?
can be that, yeah, we're
I
trying
would
to
have
make
never
people.
guessed
enhance-
that.
it is B.
Yeah.
We obviously.
Oh, wow.
We
We
didn't
got that all
even
wrong.
consider B.
Okay, right,
Okay.
and so as an instructor, this would be a great thing to do a little mini lecture on as soon as this is over, because
Yeah.
this is clearly something, you know, presumably more than one team would have had that difficulty. And, you know, maybe it was the question, but I actually took that right off one of the tables in one of, so I thought that wasn't gonna be too
So
hard.
this is how you base your lectures for
So,
this?
yeah, so,
Well, I
so,
thought to be
A,
honest, I
A.
thought to reduce social loafing was too obvious.
I think
But
that
I
we
was
all
there
jumped
the
on the
minute-
bandwagon.
yeah.
Whoever said, let's immediately take that off, I think we didn't even give it a second chance.
that's right, and that's very good, because you'll see those kind of group dynamics, and that gets worked
That's
out over the
interesting.
weeks, because
I didn't even read it when I heard someone say, oh, well, that one's obvious. I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
Me too, I didn't even look at it.
Yeah, and I never said it was obvious, but when I was answering, I said, that should be it, because it was such a big deal in the reading. It was a big deal in the reading. And then I thought,
So
well,
I
that's
thought it
too
was an easy
obvious.
question,
So I
right?
thought it's too obvious. So I went with all this other stuff, and I said, as I saw how close they were, I went back to the first two. You know, and A started to go, maybe it's just enhance the group. Because the social loafing was really a big component, not big, but big enough to say.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that, so go
Okay.
ahead, so
Okay.
I thought it was.
finish
too
up the
obvious.
other
The
ones.
next
You
one.
have
So
one.
true when you think about it, that it does help reduce it,
That's the
because
whole
we're all
point.
talking.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
I'm gonna trust
In
myself.
TBL, formative feedback is useful to enhance group processes, guard against grade inflation, provide information to the instructor about individual team members' contributions, and measure outcomes. So in TBL, formative feedback is useful to, formative feedback, what did anybody put for that?
I will say
I said A.
A.
I said A too.
Okay, and I did I think I did that one wrong.
Yeah,
I did
I
D.
did.
I don't think I guessed.
I did.
What did you do, Marilyn?
But it also,
C.
oh,
I could, yeah, I don't think I did this right, but I did C.
And what were you gonna say, Ish?
I was gonna say something, but, I mean, it could provide information to the instructor about
Could.
the contributions throughout, or, you know, if the formative evaluation is done, you know, throughout it, it can let the instructor know, but.
That is true. And honestly, I think C is probably the correct answer, now that I look at it.
I wrote A.
Enhanced
I
group
think I
processes.
wanted my enhancement.
But no, but I think.
They didn't have social loafing in the second one, so.
No, but
So we want to go in A and then.
yeah, I think
Okay.
ultimately A is it, but I think that C is the process.
Okay, so we'll go with A.
So let's see what happens.
And then I've got the.
Let's see, are we wrong or right?
Yeah, okay.
A?
Okay, good.
Yay!
Okay.
Okay, we're back,
I knew it
okay.
had to be there.
When positive and negative feedback needs to be delivered, the most effective order to deliver such messages is positive, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative, 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 positive, negative. I
I put B.
I put B.
I put B.
Yeah.
I put B.
Yeah.
I put B.
You're so great, but you messed up. But you can do better next time.
Right.
That's all I can
What did we get, B? Okay, great. Yay! Okay, which of the following is a practical lesson that Sweet and Pelton, social foundation of team-based learning, learn from transcript and performance data on the same teams? Okay. Discourage vote splitting when students take IRATs. This is what we're doing now, the IRAT. Encourage teams to work through stalled IRAT discussions rather than table and return to a problem item later. Use a measure of anxiety about the course topic when forming teams. Or base team memberships on degree of self-disclosure and willingness to provide feedback. So, I don't go for D.
I put B, but based on what I know, I didn't have to.
Right, and if you haven't read it, you wouldn't know the answer.
Oh, okay.
Because that's the thing.
I remember
You know what, I put B too. I put-
I read.
Did you put B?
So then.
What did you put, Colin?
I put B, but I don't remember reading it.
I would say B too.
B? What about you, Angela?
Yeah, I was totally off. I didn't read the question right, so.
You want to go, let's try B. Everybody ready?
B?
Consensus, okay. Did we get it right?
No.
No!
Yeah, I just
Uh-oh.
don't have a good feeling.
Well, we didn't read it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't know. This you can't guess on.
It has to be A or B, right? I think.
No, because I know you guys said no on the D.
Yeah, I guess it is
I
an
think
individual.
Yeah, IRAT stands for individual readiness.
These are IRATs.
No, these are, now you're doing
These
the
are
T-RATs. So
Teams.
doing
Okay.
it as a team is the T-RATs. So they're the
Oh,
same thing.
IRAT is the individual.
Yes, the
Yeah,
IRATs
Oh, no
and
wonder, okay. IRAT's the individual. This is the T-RAT.
Yes.
This is.
Oh, so the IRAT, I would do that with the Scantron. That's
Yes.
when I'm okay.
Or with
Now I can look
clickers.
at it differently.
You can
Or with
also
the
do-
clickers.
You can also do it with the clickers. Yeah, I think it's a little funky with the clickers, but people do it. People do the IRATs with clickers.
Okay.
So,
So are we gonna say D then?
Mm.
I know it seems way out there,
Okay, well, let's go for it.
Well, it can't be A because it's not the individual, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a lesson that they learned from something they've learned.
yeah, they did observations of the teams, and so they had two kinds of data on their teams, and so they talked about a series of lessons that they learned from this.
All we could do is guess because.
Okay, let's
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, if you don't know, you
Yeah,
know.
we said B and it wasn't right.
Okay, so D.
Go for it. We're behind you already.
No D.
No, no.
No D.
No
I
D.
think so.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry.
Even just D cannot be. Yeah, it's kind
I
of,
mean, so it'd have to be-
maybe it's kind of mushy.
I think C.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for C.
Yeah, C.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get it?
Yeah.
C is the answer?
If you didn't get it,
does
guess
really-
it.
You got it after you were
Did
turning.
we guess it?
All right, one left.
Okay,
Do it
to
quickly.
enhance team members' sense of belongingness, Sweet and Pelton recommend conducting formative peer assessments by encouraging students to write something to or about their teammates, guarding against team members' desire to inflate one's own score, using only anonymous numerical points as feedback, discouraging vote splitting during the process. Okay, so this is the team members.
This is peer evaluation.
Right.
Okay, peer assessments.
Which I just did that. I haven't, I did the points. I did points.
Yeah, I put C.
Mm.
C?
Oh, C.
Assessment by encouraging direct.
Actually, I made our students decide what they were going to evaluate each other on, and then assess the points. That's how I
Go C. I've done that before.
Let's see. Okay, what did everybody, Carmen, what did you put for this one?
I put C. I
What did
just
you
felt
put?
it was
C?
safer.
C? Safer. What did you put, Marilyn?
see.
Angela?
I put A, but I want to go C.
Okay.
I put A.
I did A too, but I can go for C, but I did A.
A or C.
Hello, wonderful
This is
people.
our wonderful team from Institutional Effectiveness. and
Great.
Innovation.
You put A?
Anna
Yeah.
Pedalian, Dean Anna Pedalian, and Michael Fradkin.
Hi, Marie Thomas. Okay, make a commitment.
Yeah, we gotta make a commitment.
A. No.
Oh.
We'll vote.
They want to get the reading? Carmen?
C?
Those are the same people that I don't recall reading. It's not, I was trying to blame them. The other stuff, yes.
So sense of belongingness and formative peer assessments. So A
So
or
A
C.
would give you more sense of belonging. I go for A.
I think A.
Okay, so they're both giving feedback,
Right.
but one is quantitative and one is qualitative.
Right.
So belongingness.
And remember, they gotta work in teams again.
Yeah.
The same teams.
Right, yeah.
It could be dangerous.
That's all I can
So
think
maybe C, so it won't be.
Using anonymous numerical points as
That's
feedback.
how I see it. So people feel free to say what they need to
Right,
say.
and the truth.
Right.
Okay, that
And
does
the
sound
keyword
good.
being anonymous, right? Okay,
Okay,
so
let's
C.
go for it.
No. Sorry, guys.
No?
No C, so we're gonna go for A?
A.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
A is A?
A.
Okay,
I guess that's the whole idea of the sense of belonging.
wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Scary, but yes.
That is good.
so, all right, so you've done an IRAT and you've done a TRAT.
Yeah.
So what was your experience? Did you enjoy doing the TRAT?
Yeah.
You had a great discussion.
Mhm.
You really talked
I
about.
actually
some
learned a
things.
lot from everybody's feedback and what we were talking about. I was able to grasp the material a lot better.
And that's what happens. I mean, that's what happens in the classroom. So students, will come with different levels of preparation, as you did, right? Some of you had read the article, some of you didn't. And I have to say, some of you are really good guessers because you didn't have any idea and you still got them right. So that's really what the classroom is like. Students get really excited about it and they debate each other and it's very fun. I mean, I love watching it. So, okay, so this is going to be my mini lecture here, and this is really for the people who haven't been with us this whole time, so you have an idea of what we're doing. And then I want to come back to the summative and formative feedback, because that was clearly an issue that needs to be resolved. Oh, you don't have to do that.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I noticed on there you have about the same allotment of time for the IRATs and the TRATs. We
Yes.
clearly took a lot longer for the
Yes.
TRAT. Were we just too slow?
No. It depends. And actually, yeah, I mean,
I think
this whole thing is sort of the diagnosis time, and so sometimes the IRAS will go faster. I find that they tend to take about the same amount of time, but it depends. And so I generally figure it's going to take a half hour to 40 minutes. And that's starting as soon as they come in. You know, they'll be trained to come and get their folders. They'll be sitting in their seats. They know that they're going to start right away. And if somebody comes in too late to do the IRAD, you know, if they come in late, I let them take, you know, they can start, but I have a cutoff point, and if they don't finish, they don't finish. And so they know, I mean, I don't have any trouble getting students there on time, which is really great.
Right.
They know to be there on the days they're doing a RAT, they know to be there on time. So anyway, so let's just go through the process here. So the whole idea, this is kind of, you know, everybody's been talking about the flipped classroom for the last 3 weeks on my campus. This is kind of like a flipped classroom idea in the sense that you expect students to do a lot of the preparation before they come to class, the basic preparation. And we've talked in our phone calls about the fact, you know, we have all these different disciplines, and what you can expect students to be able to come in knowing will vary depending on your discipline. And so that's something that you're going to have to work out as you go through this. But you're going to give them certain material to learn ahead of time. You're going to expect them to be able to come in and take an individual quiz. My quizzes are generally 10 to 15 questions. And in my advanced statistics class, it's generally a chapter. We do a chapter a week pretty much, and so it will be on a single chapter. But again, it depends on how your class goes. The way it was originally conceived, you know, the genesis of TBL was to give students in large classes a small class experience, figuring that by dividing them into teams and having them do most of their work in teams, they get to know a group of students very well, and they'd have more personal interaction. And so the way that Larry Michelson conceived it, he figured that you would divide your class into modules, and there might be 4 to 6 modules over the course of the semester, and you do an IRAD and a TRAD at the beginning of a module, and then for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you do a series of activities that get more and more complex, and then at the end, there's an activity that you would grade. A team activity that you would grade. And so that's so you take the individual test, you take the team test, we'll come back to the appeals in a moment. You do instructor feedback, which could be a mini lecture, like I'm doing now. And then the rest of the time in that module, you're doing some kind of application-oriented activities. My classes haven't really fit in this modular model. So it's generally, I do a RAT every week. Michelson thinks that's too many. I mean, we just had our last one this Wednesday, and that was 10. And he would say 10 is really pushing the boundaries. Because you don't want students, you don't want it to just be a quiz. You know, it's more than that. It's preparation. That's why it's called the readiness assurance process. It's to assure that they're ready to do the work of that module. And so, but you have to work with that. You know, you think about it in your class, if you can divide it into modules. I think most students, at least the students I interact with, need that weekly quiz. They just, I couldn't expect in my statistics class, I couldn't expect them to read 2 chapters and understand enough of it to take a quiz. Right. I just can't. So when we do positive psychology next semester, we're thinking maybe we could do it in a more modular way. We'll see as we work it out. So it depends on your class. You think about it. Okay, and so here he says typically 5 to 7 modules in a particular course. So, okay, so we're going to do an activity, but first I want to come back to the formative and summative feedback, because that was a question you had. So, summative feedback, the difference between summative and formative feedback really is that summative feedback has an effect on your grade. I mean, that's the key aspect of it, so that it's going to affect, if you get bad feedback, it's going to lower your grade. Formative feedback is for information only. And so I've put in your packet a formative feedback form for mid-semester. You can do it more than once, but I tend to do it at mid-semester. And then there's a summative feedback where they actually give points, and I use those points to, what I do is I modify their team rat grade based on their peer evaluation. And we'll talk about that in more detail hopefully later. But Angela, let me just, you have that the mid-semester one, because I just want to, yeah, it's that one right there actually, yeah, that's it. So it's the longer form, and so it's got everybody in the team's name on it. And I also have them writing something about each person. That goes back to that last question, or question number 7, that I not only have them assign points, I have them write something about their team member, one thing they appreciate and one thing that they wish their team member would do more of. I have them do these forms anonymously. And then what I do is I actually write to each student, because at midterm, it's often, I may have their midterm grade, I give them their grade, I tell them what score they got from their team, and then I say, these are the things your team members really appreciate about you, and these are the things that they wish you'd do more of. And you know, for the most part, team members are very kind, but they'll say things like, you know, stand up for yourself more when we're doing the team rats, because you often have the right answer, but you don't tell us, right? Or, I wish you would do the homework more carefully so that, you know, you can contribute more. So they'll give negative feedback, but in a very kind and compassionate way. And so I usually just make lists of what people said. But as Marilyn said, you had the teams make decisions about what they wanted to rate each other on. And that's another method that some people will do that. So again, there are different ways of doing that. I know I can never shut my phone off when it goes off on either. So, okay, so the summative evaluation is just giving them scores, and I don't even tell them what they are. I just, you know, modify their team test, and we can talk more about how to do that later. But I want to do a team activity while Angela's still here. So in your folder there, in the red folder, not in your individual folders, in the team folder there, there's a sheet that says Team Activity 1. And this is typically what I would do is, if I want the team to work together, somebody grab the sheet out of there. There are some activities I do where I want the individuals to work individually first and then to come together as a team and hand in one sheet. But there are others where, yes, where I only have one sheet, I want the team to read it together, you know, somebody to read it to the team, and then for them to start working. So this is actually an issue that you may have, it's about team dynamics. And so why don't you read it and then start working on it. Oh, and one other thing. One of the things I found with activities is we always, when we do group activities, we often give students too much time, because they'll finish and then they'll start talking about what they're going to do on the weekend, and that loses all the energy. So I tend to not give them very much time when I give them activities. You know, this could be a fairly lengthy one, so I might say 8 minutes or 10 minutes. If they need a little extra time because they're not finished, I can always do that. But always give them, you know, make it short enough that they feel compelled to work fast and not get distracted. And then, you know, you can modify that if it's clear that they're not finished. So why don't you read that? And then
So would you like me to read that paragraph?
Read the paragraph,
Okay.
yes.
To create your TBL teams, you follow the recommendations mentioned in the readings regarding instructor assignment, size, and diversity. After a month, it's clear that all of your teams are functioning well except one. You've noticed that some of the members of this team are consistently doing poorly on their IRATs, indicating lack of preparation, and the team's TRAT scores are the lowest of all groups. Their submitted group work also shows that the team lacks cohesion. 2 of the stronger students have separately come to complain about the other team members and to express concern that their team's poor performance will result in them receiving a lower final grade. What would you do?
That's a good question.
In your team, discuss and then list the pros and cons of the following options in the table below. Come to a consensus about a preferred course of action. So there are 4 options, and again, in your team, which would be us, discuss and then list the pros and cons of the following options in the table below. So it says pros and cons, and it has the options A through D. So I'm going to read the first option, and then we can discuss the pros and cons as a group. And am I to just list them? Should I?
Yeah, so
Okay,
you can
list-
fill in the table, you know, you can
Okay.
be the recorder there, yeah.
So the first one, stay out of the fray. This is something that the team members need to figure out on their own. Pros and cons.
They need that, yeah.
So let's talk about the pros. What
No,
would be
I
the
just need one
pros
for
for
the team,
staying out
yeah.
of the fray? This is something the team members need to figure out on their own.
The pros are the pro would be, it would help them increase their assertive skills and interpersonal skills. That would be a pro.
Increase assertiveness. Are you guys okay with that as a pro?
What do you
We're
think?
supposed to be answering as a group.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
in
they
the-
were
in
given
the-
that opportunity, they've been given that opportunity, that's what we've been doing all this time, so.
But what could be a positive part of staying out of it?
That
Problem solving
they
skills.
yeah, they have to come up with a
Yeah.
solution
Problem
for their
solving
own
skills.
teams.
I like that.
So problem solving skills, okay.
It's like when students come to you and they have a problem, you ask them, how are you gonna?
And so I agree with the enhancement of assertiveness for some, especially the 2 that complained. You may say to them, in order to improve that, you're gonna have to go back and make, try and build cohesion against your group and have a voice.
Oh,
So it
okay.
could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm in agreement with that. So increase assertiveness for team members. Okay.
Cons.
What about
I can't
cons?
wait for those.
I know, right.
What could be a negative aspect of staying out of it?
The problem won't ever get solved.
The problem won't get solved.
Probably may not be.
They start
solved.
arguing, some people may be defensive.
Challenges can increase.
Kind of encourages the social loafing.
Mhm.
Okay.
The problem could escalate.
That's the one, probably escalate, that's what I was thinking. And increase social loafing. That's
Social,
No, I don't
Yeah,
think that
because
it would
they're already
increase.
loafing.
Right, I don't think that would increase.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm gonna move to option B.
Okay.
We have 3 cons for A and 2 pros for B, for A. All right, so B. You could call a meeting of the team and remind them that they will be evaluating each other at the end of the semester, and these peer evaluations will affect their final grades. So we could call a meeting of the team and remind them that they will be evaluating each other at the end of the semester, and these peer evaluations will affect their final grades. What are the pros of reminding them of that group obligation and evaluation? The pros?
It gives them kind of like criteria to think about.
To give them the,
Because maybe they don't,
give
Or
them the,
remind them that they
Yeah.
have to work together. They
That-
have
that
to
it
Gives them the opportunity to
Accountability,
communicate
right? They are-
reminds them
about
that,
their grades,
Yeah,
you know.
Remind them that they need to.
that group cohesion counts towards their grade. Okay. Remind them, okay. Anything else? Counts towards their grade.
Now, when they evaluate peers, is there any place that they would say that, for example, Taiba has this weakness, do they have to say what did they do about it to improve, her behavior? Like, if this is my weakness and Angela is my teammate, does she have to explain what she did to improve that situation? Because that would be,
Yeah, the opportunity to voice their
Exactly.
opinion, and then maybe the other two could say,
Right.
there's something happening in my life and you didn't know about it.
Oh,
Because that's a
that's-
big situation in our area.
So, because that would actually.
Opportunity for everybody to have good dialogue about what's happening in their group and why it's happening. Maybe I don't know what's happening.
Exactly, maybe I don't know.
I'm just saying,
that
I'm worried about my
reminder,
grade.
The positive part of reminding them could increase group,
Cohesiveness.
yeah, what we said?
Communication.
We said- Oh, so maybe.
Maybe it's a communication.
Suggest
issue.
more communication
Yes.
between the members, more of a suggestion. It could suggest greater communication among the members.
Then they could say, they would be able to say, yeah, type A, you suck. She had one over her head.
It's
What about
okay,
the
but
cons?
then, I said, what,
Okay,
What are
the
the
cons, we're in the position of policing the group. I don't know if that's a good thing,
Yeah,
Maybe it looks like we're intervening.
intervening.
It's like a-
too much intervention.
You need the pressure to create, you want to stay in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say create a lot.
Oh, say it, that's
I
good,
like
go
that.
ahead.
I said maybe,
Could create pressure
Yeah, create pressure.
towards and maybe create hostility among the members. The pressure could create hostility.
or give them impression that teacher want to control them.
Okay. Oh, those are good. Okay. And impression of teacher control. Alright, and the next one is C, option C, dissolve the team and assign the members to different, more functioning teams.
And these
That's
teams are
just
created
transfer
for
the
the whole
problem.
semester, correct? Okay, so that's,
So what our
team-based
program
learning is groups that are stay
They're
together for
the whole semester.
Yeah, exactly, okay. So again,
Okay, the
Um,
pro to dissolving the team, what are the possible positive outcomes to dissolving?
that the individuals who are going to the different teams will learn what a good team, how a good team functions.
Okay, so we create a better environment for the unhappy team members?
I guess,
Create a
yeah.
better team experience for the.
it has to be for all the team though. You're
Yeah, but
just-
this is the only pro that could come out of
Right.
this.
Because remember, the problem was like one or two members are not working
Right.
hard enough. So by assigning them to another team, they continue the same way. Right? You didn't
Right.
solve the problem. I mean, that is so.
We have to come up with.
Possible, yeah, that we
The
could.
Yeah,
pro,
we have to
what would be the benefit
Yeah.
of dissolving the team and separating them?
Yeah, this is, we don't like it, but what could happen,
Oh.
so it could
boy.
create a better team experience for the disgruntled members. That's what
And it could create a
Or
better.
Better
low
situation.
performing, or
Uh-huh,
It could benefit the high performers.
high performance.
as well, it can benefit all of them.
Right.
Yes, because now they're separate.
So the low performers feel guilty. Oh
And the
man,
other
they
team
messed up
goes,
the
I don't
team.
want 'em." Now you
Oh,
create
that's
hostility
sad.
for the other teams.
Oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah,
As
you
a
do,
con.
as a con, yeah, absolutely.
Why do we have to take this?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it could be now
Mhm.
outcast.
Yeah, now they're
Or performers
outcasted.
become an outcast.
Well, you know, one of the pros, if you thought about
That's
it,
a con.
it depends on how you split the teams too. You could take a team and take each member and put them on other teams, which would which might be a positive, you know, because now it's like, okay, I got away from everybody and I'm in a new team. And then the other thing is, it could be a positive because now the other teams are going, good, we got one extra member now, so.
Okay, so a
I
positive.
mean, it's,
teams-
it could go all over the place.
Teams, new
You have
teams.
2 more minutes.
Okay, so I'll write that for positive is new teams formed with new members. And for negative, you guys said, poor performers are now
Transferred,
outcast.
yeah.
Feel like outcast, okay. And group hostility, new group
Yeah.
hostility, right, okay. All right, last but not least, we only have 2 minutes. Have the team members do formative peer evaluations of each other and moderate a discussion of the results. So
That's
2
good.
people
That's a
complain,
good one.
go back, have the peer evaluations done, formative peer, and then have them talk about their challenges. So that's a little bit of a facilitating additional group communication, something like that. That's a positive. Okay. Facilitating further group communication.
And then also just,
cohesion. Okay.
like clarifying, you know, the expectations.
Purpose,
and,
okay.
You know,
Is that, are we okay with that as a group? So clarification of the group expectation.
yeah,
Okay, and then what's a con? Clarification.
it might break out in a fight.
Just a way for them to prioritize what they're already unhappy about.
Right.
Could cause a riot.
I think Angela's answer was better.
Oh, what did you say?
Angela.
Oh, it's a way that they permanently document what they're already unhappy about.
Yeah.
That's a pro. That's a pro.
That's
That's
right.
Was that a con? No, that's a con. You're
That's a
saying.
con.
Oh, got
Yeah.
it. Okay, permanent documentation. Okay.